Listen, you're not gonna find anything on me, okay? Trust me.
Empty your pockets into the tray, sir, or we'll have to. Your pockets, sir?
Lady, the problem isn't in my pants.
Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes, and we have not done a This Week in X-Men here on Thinking Critical in a very long time. The X-Men were on a very prolonged hiatus, but this very week we got a ton of new X-Men comics. We got new X-Men comics next week, and we have new X-Men news to talk about. And here with me, as always, is the co-host of This Week in X-Men, Doc. How you doing?
I'm doing spectacular, dude.
Well, I'm glad we can finally talk a little bit about the world's finest mutants that reside, obviously, in Marvel Comics. But before we get to that, Doc, if this is your first time here visiting Thinking Critical, consider subscribing to the channel. We put a lot of hard work into it, put a lot of great content out there, and I think you're going to want to come back for more of the wonderful comic book content right here on Thinking Critical YouTube.
Absolutely. Wes does a phenomenal job.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very humbled by your very kind words, sir. Now let's get into it. So we had a lot of interesting news that has been happening lately. Obviously, we knew Vita Ayala was going to be coming into Dawn of X. That was announced quite a while ago, I believe at the very beginning of the year. It appeared she would be on the Children of the Atom ongoing, and then it appeared that it kind of disappeared. Then we got word that Children of the Atom was actually going to be a limited series, and then this week, her name shows up in the October solicitations for Marauders. Jerry Duggan is still on cable, but he's no longer on Marauders. And from what I hear, this might be a permanent change. What do you think? I know you haven't enjoyed Jerry Duggan's run on Marauders. Is this an upgrade, or are you excited that Marvel Comics listened to you and made a change?
No, they somehow managed to make a downgrade on Jerry Duggan, which I didn't think was possible, but apparently it was. Marauders has been a very questionable book for a good time. I mean, I guess it fits in the whole concept that they have for the X universe right now, but it's just not a very good book. Somehow going from generic Duggan down to Vita Ayala is actually a step down. So no.
Well, at least we won't get the really bad jokes. Well, maybe we will.
No, we'll still get really bad jokes. They'll actually somehow be worse. No, it's just going to be terrible. I guess, Marvel has a nice tendency of listening to people and then giving them the exact opposite of what any logical person would conclude is the right thing to give them. This is, pretty on brand for Marvel, especially Ukulele Boy over in the X office.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad for all those people that have been actually enjoying Marauders. Obviously, I jumped off at the second or third issue. I've just been reading X-Men, the Fantastic Four X-Men, Wolverine, X-Force. I'm actually going to revisit Cable. And we are going to talk about Hellions here, which I actually enjoyed this week. But, I have not been reading Excalibur. New Mutants is not a part of my life. Marauders is certainly not a part of my life. And I think a lot more people are actually going to drop Marauders after this, because I agree with you. It's a downgrade in writing quality, and I'm still on board with Dawn of X. I'm not going to read all of it because I've definitely come to the conclusion that it's not all worth my time. Any chance that I would actually go back and revisit Marauders is essentially torpedoed. I don't care what happens in Ten of Swords. I'm not going back because I know the direction is hopeless.
I managed a lot longer than you on Marauders. I think I got up to about issue 10 or 11. I don't remember off the top of my head. I just didn't buy the most recent issue. That was 2 issues ago was my last issue. When I heard that they might be making a change in writer, I considered maybe coming back. But the minute I saw that it was Vita Ayala in the solicits this month, I'm like, oh, okay. That just reinforced my decision to leave the book.
Well, sometimes Marvel can, let you know that you made the right choice. All right, let's talk about something more cool, something more exciting. Let's talk about
some good stuff.
Well, I think we both agree that Ten of Swords is probably far too bloated. There's too many stories, but we finally got some teaser images. Obviously, in the free comic book day, there were a bunch of tarot cards. We're going to talk about that. And then they've also released a bunch of upcoming covers, and we have some clues as to what we're looking at there. First, I want to talk about this tarot card of the Ten of Swords. we get our first look at the 10 mutants that will be holding the titular swords during the story. It looks like we've got on the bottom left Cable, in the middle Apocalypse, next to Wolverine, Magic, Betsy Braddock as Captain Britain. Up on the left, I imagine that is Nightcrawler with the double swords. Clearly, that is Storm right above his shoulder. In the middle, I believe that is the original Captain Britain.
Actually, I believe the original Captain Britain, Brian Braddock, currently going by Lionheart, is, I believe, on the far right. I'm leaning towards the one on the top center being Phantom X. You know, he's got the same jacket that Phantom X wears.
But he's got a mask, but Phantom X wears a mask too. Correct.
And, you know, Phantom X is kind of a bit of a rogue, and, you know, I could see him using and that looks kind of like one of those French swords with the hilt, the hand guard on it. Like he's going to go do some
fencing.
Yeah. So, and you know, Phantom X is French, so there you go. That's my vibe on it. And we know that Phantom X is coming back in the what is it, the giant size X-Men?
Giant size Phantom X. You know what's guaranteed to happen in that comic book, Doc? Nothing will happen in that comic book, and it's likely not even to be about Phantom X. It'll probably be about another character, maybe even Charles Xavier, who stole his body. I think Phantom X is going to be pretty pissed about that.
Probably. And he has every right to be.
All right, so we think at least one of those is Brian Braddock. You think Phantom X is up there, and then there's the one character in the middle. I think you were leaning towards Gorgon.
Now that I'm looking at it, the helmet, it looks like it might be Magneto.
Well, that would make sense. Magneto is a very powerful character. He has the ability to break swords with his mind. You know what I mean? So maybe that is Magneto. It kind of makes sense. He does appear to have a cape.
Yes, he appears to have a cape, and it kind of looks like Magneto's helmet with those little horn things sticking up in the front of it.
All right, so I think this is an exciting picture. I saw all the tarot cards, and they're all very interesting, but this is absolutely the one that kind of drew my attention. Did you come away with the same feeling when you saw that comic book?
Yes, this was the most exciting one. If any of the images were going to really get me hyped for jumping on to 10 of Swords, because, you know, as you said, you know, I think that it's overbloated, and I am very skeptical of it. But this is actually a pretty interesting image, and it kind of enticing.
Yeah, and there's another enticing image. Let's talk about that one. This is the cover of X 10 of Swords, Stasis #1. And it says, "Beware the sword bearers of Araco." And we've got all these characters. Obviously, we have met the Summoner, who is the son of War. He's standing next to War. We have a classified character in the middle. We have Death. These are the original 4 horsemen of Apocalypse, you know, kind of in here. They don't exactly point out Pestilence and Famine.
Yeah, they don't, which is strange. And I'm wondering whether or not the Blood
I'm assuming the one in the middle and the one with the one next to the one with the dog head are the other two, because they're kind of front and center while everyone else is behind them. That those are actually the 4 original horsemen.
I'm leaning towards you're probably correct there.
So we got some interesting characters. I don't really know who any of these people are. Do you remember any of these characters from past X-Men lore, or are all these new?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't, but there's some. They remind me of a few other characters that we haven't seen in a while. Like Iska the Unbeaten kind of reminds me of Frenzy, but I don't know if she is. Like, it could be a new persona for some more modern mutants. And the white sword kind of looks like that dude that had the Phoenix sword during Ed Brubaker's Uncanny X-Men run, whenever they were off in space during the rise and fall of the Shi'ar Empire. But I don't know.
Mhm.
They just remind me
on there that kind of reminded me of some of the stuff I saw on Wraith, but I'm probably wrong on that one. I'm probably misremembering. That's the character that kind of popped in my mind when I looked at him.
Yeah. Now, the most interesting character on this sheet is obviously the classified character.
And you have a theory on this one. I'm going to say it was very interesting. You look at the body composition of that character. It's clearly a female character. They're wearing a gold mask, it appears. And you know of a character that wears a gold mask. It's been a kind of an integral part of House of X, Powers of 10, Dawn of X so far, right?
Yes, and that would be Destiny. Destiny, obviously her mask that she wore was blank, but having features to it isn't but she still wore a mask. She's very integral to House of X, Powers of X, Dawn of X in general, with the mandate of not bringing back any precognition mutants.
But how could she be one of the original four horsemen? Did she escape the seal?
That's where I'm not sure of. Now, there was an article that mentioned that there's a lot of references, and we might be getting a connection to the elder god Chthon, who's kind of a Cthulhu-esque elder god. A rumor that the Apocalypse had to use Araco to plug the hole with his original four horsemen, was against Chthon, and that he needs a host, though. So there's the possibility that it may be Chthon using the Destiny's body as a host. And because there is the whole concept of or the whole theme of betrayal to X of Swords, and one of the big rumored people to betray the X-Men on the Krakoans is Mystique, because of Destiny. So it kind of fits, like if Mystique were to betray the X-Men and somehow resurrect Destiny, but then Chthon uses her body as a vessel or as a host.
See, I'm expecting Apocalypse to betray him, because obviously these are his original horsemen. We know that he still loves him. When he met the Summoner, the Son of War, they embraced like he was hugging like a family member, and he wanted to hear about his father. So I've always assumed Apocalypse was going to turn on the X-Men and kind of go with his original fellas here.
I would have to agree with you for the most part, except for Apocalypse would be the least. You'd be like, oh, okay, well, I was just kind of waiting for that. It's not exactly a surprise by any stretch if Apocalypse were to. I mean, yeah, he's on the Quiet Council.
Essentially, with the new Krakoa, that is his dream nation.
Yes.
I will say this, Doc. This image, along with those tarot cards, kind of gets me excited for it. I'm certainly not going to read all of Ten of Swords. It's far too bloated. But I am excited to learn some of this information.
I am too. I mean, they gave me something more than that original Mark Brooks piece that just had a bunch of X-Men holding swords. I'm like, oh, yay, great, you got swords. Cool. That you didn't bother to tell me what they were for. Now you're actually giving me a what are they for? And that at least piques my interest.
All right, Doc, let's give a quick little take about what we read in X-Men this week. Obviously, I already talked about X-Men Fantastic Four on Sunday, so we're not going to talk about that comic, but we are going to talk about Wolverine #3 as well as Hellions #2. So Wolverine has been pretty darn good the first two issues, but I got to say with this one, I don't know if it was the amount of time in between reading issues, but I came away pretty confused and underwhelmed. I thought the CIA agent was dead. How the hell did he come back?
I don't know. I thought he was dead too. Like I had to go back and look at Wolverine 2, and I still thought he was dead. I don't understand what happened. Did he get shot in the head and not die? I don't know.
Yeah, and then like Wolverine bringing in a team of X-Force to take down like these Russian. Like the Russians play for mutants, I guess. Are they making fake mutants, or do they have their own mutant army?
Yeah, I think they're making their own mutant army with an underwater Death Star that can shoot off the top of itself into a little floaty island boat thing. I don't know what the hell is going on in this comic right now. This was, I feel like this should have been like issue 9.
4 or 5. There needed to be something in the middle to connect it.
Yeah, like there was a lot, like it just kind of jumped into like they I can't figure out if they're just trying to refocus themselves and like they're a little meandering because they don't know what they're doing with the book and they're just kind of rewriting and changing stuff based on response. Or because the plans in the X office keep changing. I don't know. But it feels like they set up this Pale Girl thing and then resolved it like really fast.
Like 3 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they just keep setting things up and resolving them way too quickly.
Yeah. I was severely underwhelmed. I got to the end of the book. I was like, that's this, like, I don't even realize, I don't understand what happened, but I didn't have time to go back and read the other Wolverine issues, but it sounds like it probably wouldn't have helped.
And it seemed like this issue actually spoiled the future issues, the Victor Bogdanovich issues, about the weird vampire mutant cult thing in France. Because it mentioned that already happened. So we're now going to get flashback issues. I don't understand what in the hell's going on with this book. It's really kind of making my head hurt.
I agree. So I wasn't very happy with that one, but shockingly, I was very happy with Hellions when I reviewed the first issue, obviously by Zeb Wells, Steven Segovia. I was not very happy. I was like, it feels like a weird version of Suicide Squad. I don't believe that anyone would ever let Mr. Sinister run a covert group of anything because he's so untrustworthy. But there's no Mr. Sinister in this comic book. It really helped the story, and there was some cool shit in this thing.
Yeah, you know what? This was just kind of a good straight up action comic. It had a little bit of mystery. I was surprised at how quickly they had the Alex and Madeline reunion. I expected that to kind of be held off and kind of teased for a couple more issues. So it seemed like it was another case of them resolving something too quickly. But other than that,
well, this wasn't resolved. It was left on a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but I mean, the tension was taken out of it too quickly. And
they're dragging bodies of the team to are they going to go eat them? What's going to happen to them?
Yeah, that's another good question. So, I mean, yeah, okay, fine. I guess you are right in that regard. I just expected her to be in the shadows for a little bit longer.
I'm glad they brought her out. They've been hinting at the character for over a year now.
Yeah, but there's only been one issue of her actually being there.
Yeah, I said hitting it. If you're gonna hint at the character, finally when you deliver it, just bring the character out. But Doc, I gotta talk about this. Yes. This is my favorite moment, and I hope this happens in every single issue of Hellions. It was when Grey Crow pulled his gun out and blew Empath's head off for being a fucking asshole.
Yes, I feel like this needs to be the "you killed Kenny, you bastards."
He needs to be killed every issue by a member of the team.
Yes, like every issue, every time, and he has to come back, and every time he's pissed off about it, and they tell him, "Well, if you stop acting like an asshole, we'll stop shooting you in the head."
Although it was funny when he got Nanny to start dry humping Grey Crow's leg, trying to nurse him.
You know what? This was honestly the most fun X book in a good number of. I mean, obviously there hasn't been a lot of X books in a few months, but probably in most of Dawn of X, this was probably the most fun, just kind of very straightforward superhero comic. And
I was blown away. I had zero expectations in this. I was like, why am I reading this? But I always try to give a comic at least 2 or 3 issues. I read it. I was like, man, this is great.
Yeah, as I said, whenever they announced this book, I was kind of into it because I liked Zeb Wells when he did New Mutants, and I feel like this is a good just good straight up superhero comic. It's not all galaxy brained, and I definitely recommend it.
Yeah, they send the team in, they blow shit up, they're bad guys. So apparently the head of X guys don't care if you kill off a few characters.
Yeah,
kind of dig it.
And you know what? They send bad guys to go after worse guys. I kind of like the premise of this book.
Yeah, it was actually fun. So I'll definitely be coming back for that. Hellions definitely got 2 or 3 more issues at least before they could knock me off. But I don't see that happening. Especially, I'm really digging Krakoa. I thought he seemed like a character that had a lot of promise, and it feels like he's the star of the book now, and I like that.
I think so too. He feels like he's the one that everybody's going to kind of connect to, and especially since Scalp Hunter was never really a huge focus, and nobody ever gave him much personality. So Zeb Wells actually making you interested in what's going on with Scalp Hunter, John Greycrow, is kind of awesome. I'm definitely into it. And he's definitely the star of the book, in my opinion. I think this was meant to be an Alex and Betsy focus book, but I think John Greycrow is kind of stealing the spotlight.
Well, it's not Betsy anymore.
Well, Quanon. Sorry, I still forget that. But yeah, good point. All right, fine. You know what? And
I corrupted the X-Men god. Whoa.
Yes, Yes, because I still don't accept that Betsy and Quanon are the same. I don't accept this.
Right, I guess when Phantom X comes back, you can call him Charles Xavier.
I'm gonna slap you. And by the way, New Mutants was awful this week.
Well, I'm glad I didn't read it, and we're not going to talk about it then.
Yes.
There's Doc's review of New Mutants. If you're wondering what we thought about that comic, Doc, we're coming up on time, and we basically run out of time. I think we had a lot of fun. We talk about some stuff we didn't like. Definitely talk about some things we definitely dug. The tarot cards, the teaser for the villains and Ten of Swords. Hellions was absolutely a high point just of the comic book reading week, and hopefully Wolverine picks it back up, because I thought that was not the way to end the story.
Yeah, that was a big. They dropped the ball on that issue. And I have an expectation it's going to pick back up, but maybe it just needs a little bit more focus.